Say It Sunday, number 38. Now, just to recall, guys, on last week where I introduced diabetes, which will be the Say It Sunday flow for the next few weeks, possibly longer. Let's just see how long it takes to unpack it. It's quite a complex disease, and I really want people to get the message and understand, because it's affecting more and more people every day, okay, especially Australians. It's costing the Australian economy over $14 billion a year, and it's affecting over 2.5 million that we can record, okay? So there's a lot of people out there that are on the verge of getting especially type 2 diabetes, which is a lifestyle condition. Okay, guys, so this is how we're going to talk this one through. Now, type 2 diabetes will be this week in particular. So type 2 diabetes is when the body doesn't produce enough insulin, okay, or it resists insulin. Now, insulin is a hormone. Now, this little doodle looking thing here, okay, this little yellow object, now this is to life scale, so about 5 centimeters. This little guy here is your pancreas, and he lives in between basically your gallbladder and your stomach. Now, what the pancreas does, he is responsible for producing insulin, the hormone. So, when we consume carbohydrates and simple sugars and all those foods, this little guy squeezes out insulin once the sugar's gone through the digestive process. And I'm going to use this car. So this car is insulin. Now, this car likes to pick up sugar and carry it to the cells. So this car drives around the blood, okay, and it takes all the sugar that's been digested and drops it off at the cells, okay? So recapping on that, the pancreas, here's a little hormone, here's a little organ that produces a hormone called insulin, okay, in response to sugar, glucose in the body. Now, and then insulin is a taxi that takes the sugar to the cells. Now, what happens, guys, is let's pretend we have a diet that's very high in sugar, okay, which is all sorts of processed foods. Now, when I mean high in sugar, I mean specifically processed foods, okay, foods that have no fiber. Fiber is what slows down digestion, okay, and allows a more stable blood sugar reading. But if you consume a lot of processed and high refined sugar foods, you will always have a lot of sugar in your blood. Meaning that this little guy here, he's just going to get worked in overtime, man, okay? Then after a while, he's just going to say, no, I'm tapping out, okay? So that there can be a contributor to your type 2 diabetes, too much processed foods, okay? That also comes in the form of processed meats and things as well. Okay, I'm going to talk about insulin resistance in a moment. But let's just talk about the next thing. Now, before I show you this little artery, vein, capillary type here, I want you to understand, guys, that 20% of your genetics, okay, is predetermined that would or could possibly happen to you. So say your mum or your dad had diabetes or heart disease, okay? There's a roughly 20% chance that you will get it through a genetic code, okay? 80% is lifestyle. So what you do to your body, what you put into your body, okay, that has the biggest impact. We say genetics load the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger. Always remember that, specifically with type 2 diabetes, because it is so heavily geared and influenced around your lifestyle. Now let's take this little red tube here. So here's a vein, an artery, or a capillary. See how nice and tunnely he is? So when the taxi is traveling through and he's easily getting through that little tunnel there, dropping off the sugar, and the sugar is being absorbed through that wall into the cells, and the cells are going, whoopee, this is awesome. But guess what? If we consume too much saturated fat, okay, saturated fat, things like oils, meats, so lots of animal products, okay, do carry lots of saturated fat, coconut oil, so lots of oils, guys. So basically oils, animal products, okay, are the ones that carry the most saturated fat. Now, I'm going to talk about saturated fat later down the series, okay, but just For today, I'm going to keep it simple. Now, let's say we consume lots of saturated fat and then all of a sudden we get that nice, thin, well, not nice, but we get that thin coating of fat, cholesterol, all the rest of it on that capillary or artery. And then all of a sudden we can hardly see through the tunnel. Now, let's go back to our taxi cab and say our taxi's flowing through the tube and then he wants to drop off all the sugar. But guess what? The sugar can't get through because there's a thick, disgusting wall of fat there. Now, this is called insulin resistance, where this resistance is happening here and the sugar cannot get through into the cells and it remains in the blood. So we continually have high blood sugar. Now, this here indicates also type 2 diabetes. My point here, guys, is, because I just want to wrap this week up, is that just because you are on if you're on a keto or any sort of high fat, low carbohydrate diet, and your blood sugar readings are great, of course, because you're hardly eating any carbohydrate. One, not a good idea because your fiber intake is poor, so you're never going to be able to do a poo properly. Two, you're taking in so much saturated fat that over time, this here is going to thicken and thicken and thicken and thicken, and your chance of getting type 2 diabetes, so next time when you go eat some fruit, veggies, carbohydrates, of anything, okay, the resistance is going to be crazy and you will be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Those that live with type 2 diabetes are in a massive high risk category of cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, and the list goes on. Now I'm going to continue this next week. So just to close this week off, guys, type 2 diabetes, okay, is due to insulin resistance or the body's inability to uptake glucose, which means that your little pancreas here, who pushes out insulin, which is the sugar taxi, says, nah man, I'm sick of you putting all this rubbish into me. I'm just turning off. All right, guys, I'll leave that with you. That's it, Sunday number 38. Peace. Stay lean, eat clean, be mean. Remember, guys, it's all about living life longer, healthier, stronger. Stick to the damn plan. Remain your authentic self. Comment, subscribe. Love you all. Happy Sunday.